Gundam.tk presents Master Grade Gundam Exia Ignition Mode. Hey everybody, Robert184 from Gundam.tk, and welcome to part 3 of my review of Gundam Exia Ignition Mode, the new Master Grade kit from 00. And what you'll see in part 3 is this. What are all the parts, how well do they function, and what kind of features did Bandai add into this? So make sure you stick around for part 4 to see it all put together. So when you're all done putting it together, here's what you're left with. The A plates, white, blue, gray, and then for the special kits, you're going to have the clear parts that all got put in, the cape, the beam sabers, and the silver make. So first a look at the weapons and shield, in this case, the GN shield. Very simply, I put some black lines on the back, and these are all, there's no stickers on this. So you're going to have gray underneath, you can see that pops through on the white and the blue. And this mount, that it's just a single mount that will go onto the forearm, and that can spin around. The beam sabers, I put some gray lining in here, and they also have a hole here, so you're going to be able to actually mount that properly in the fist. And in the case of the short blades, you just stick that on, and here is a comparison shot to give you an idea of the length of the short compared to the long. This is the GN blade, in this case the short version, and it's got a lot of gray in it, and when you put the white part on you just sort of slide it over so it reveals some gray underneath, but again it's got the hole there so that you can put it properly into the fist. You slap a blue piece on, and what's different from the 1/100th non-grade is that in this case it's silver plated here, but if you're going to buy the regular Master Grade Exia, that would just be a sort of a dull silver, you could say, or a glossy gray, similar to Infinite Justice if you've seen that. And for the size comparison, the long and the short, fair difference in size. Of course, Exia's big seller is the GN sword, and this is great, no seals, no mess. This is usually all white with some of the lower grade models. In the case of the high grade Repair 2, you can see there that it's all white, but here they put gray underneath, and you put a cap on top here in white. And behind, even though this is probably one of the weakest Gundam guns there are, the fact that they made it in silver make for the Repair version is a nice touch. Now there's lots of mobility back here. You can see that there's a pivot point here. There's also a very tight pivot point that allows you to move the gun there. And of course, what's famous about this is that besides being a gun, you slide this forward and it turns into the GN sword, which is fairly impressive looking. But why get the ignition mode? Well, one of the reasons is if you want to make it into Repair, you're not going to get silver make for this broken sword, but they actually make it, and if you throw some lines on it, it looks pretty alright. So you'll replace that, and that's what you'd have. And in addition to this cap here, you would replace it with this one, which has some pre-built scratches that of course you could just scratch this up yourself if you're not a lazy modeler like me. The feet stand out a lot more compared to the high-grade model in this case. They bend here, but they also have toe bending, so you can move the foot about this much. But that's still pretty good. And underneath this white cap, usually this is all white, but you can see the gray underneath. And it's just a ball joint here for the ankle to go into. It's cool to see an ankle joint here with double ball joints, so you'll just attach this into here, put some gray lining around it if you want, and when you're making the Repair version, all you have to do is pop this front panel off. But this feels a little bit loose, so we'll see if that's a problem when we put it together. So here's the leg all put together and lined, and it has lower mobility down to here, and upper mobility up to there, so almost a 180. And when you put it back together, this part is always going to slide loose, and it looks a little strange sometimes, but it's not a big problem overall. Put some black lines in there. What's very impressive is how deep this green is. It's green and it's raised up. And when you put the sticker underneath, the sticker by itself looks good. Then you put a clear piece on top, and then you put the green piece on top, which just adds a lot of depth to it. So it looks really sharp, I would say. On the front, the hologram seals down below, the thick plastic hologram, I don't even know what to call it, but they're not stickers. It really doesn't show up here over top of the gray. So when you look at the top, if this was the 1/100th, it would just be a purple piece of soft plastic, but in this case, because it's see-through, you can see the legs bending as you do that action. And if you get it in just the right light, it really shows off the holographic. Now the problem is for me is that it looks a little bit hollow when you're looking at it from a distance, so maybe I'd prefer the purple. but it's a new gimmick that Bandai tried, and it so-so on that. Now the waist is very, very simple on Exia, and he doesn't have a lot on the sides. What's cool about this is you can see that there's a hole here, and you can move that up and down with a slide mechanism, and it has a satisfying snap. So here I put it down, so you're able to have the legs at different heights depending on what kind of pose you want. On the front, this is able to move this much. They're independent. Put some black lines on there, and this is not a sticker like it is on the high grade or the 1/100th. And on the back, I've got one of the blades on here, and as far as independent movement goes, it goes like that. But you can pull this up with the waist armor down, and you can pull the blade off. But what's a nice touch, compared to the 1/100th again, is that you can slide it off to the side, so Exia would just reach back and yank that off. The only problem is I find with this back armor is that it's very, very weak, and you're able to lock it into place somewhat down here. There's a tab, but overall it feels a little bit flimsy. So the chest is the real standout on the Exia because it has mobility that I've never seen before on a master grade. So if you grasp the bottom here, you can slide the bottom side to side, and in addition to that, you can move this here front to the back. So you're going to get a lot more mobility with this. You can see writing in there, and it says GN001 Celestial Being Gundam Exia, and something that they haven't done before that I thought was cool was that underneath the yellow line here is the clear green. So it doesn't really show up, but it's still something that they didn't have to add that they did. Now on the back, you've got 3 panels here that you're going to be able to open up, and there's a red cap. And when you take the cap off, it reveals the empty chest where you're going to put in the GN drive, and if you look through there, you can see the written words at the end of there. And so when we put in the GN drive, you'll just seal that up. Now these parts are a huge improvement over the high grade for me, because these are really built in steady to the arm. They're pinched on front and back, and so while you do have mobility here, you're able to keep it on a lot more sturdy than the high grade. And as far as for arm shoulders, you're able to bring them out that much. So it's not that much, but it's enough. Now the arms are good, and they have the shoulder is attached on by the purple holographic, whatever you want to call that. And for movement, you have a regular 90 there, and you can bring the forearm up that much. So not bad at all. Standard for now, master grade, separate thumb, separate forefinger, and then 3 fingers down there that you can separate if you choose. But again, I really like this. This used to be a sticker, but this is not on the master grade. That's solid gray. And again, it has a sticker, a clear lens, and then the green lens on the top. And again, you can see the sliding mechanism, but in this case, it's sort of wasted because it's in the back of the arm. So you're never really going to see it, but again, something that they didn't have to do that they did. The shoulder has gray parts down here, and then you put on a blue part on the top, and then one on the front, one on the back. And because it leaves open spaces here, you can see the gray underneath, which I think looks good. And on the back, you're going to have another spot where you can put on a beam saber. Probably one of the coolest parts, though, of Exia Ignition Mode, and probably worth buying it just for this, is the fact that it comes with 2 lights for the GN drive. And both versions come with this clear stand, but you can put it in. The only problem is it's a little hard to get in and out of the stand without it popping apart. But when you're building this, it's just awesome the way that everything fits together. So that was a real treat just putting it together. Now, to turn the lights on and off, you basically twist it against each other, and this switch are locked together, so they're going to turn on. There's a clear lens here, and for the people that asked, these are different lights from what's in the 1/100th. They're stronger and they use 4-watch batteries, or 2 in each. You can also pull this out, revealing silver make parts, thanks to the ignition mode. And one complaint is that when you turn it on, you can see that the back engine here is flickering. I found that these lights are a little bit testy, and sometimes you'll get them and they'll stay on, and other times they'll flicker. Now, if you were repairing an Exia, would you really bother to put a cape on it? Well, either way, it looked great in the anime, so it's a nice touch that they throw it in here. It's 2 independent moving pieces, one big piece here that's mounted on here, and then this small part here gives it the option to come forward. You can slide it back, and it wants to fall off if you slide it too far back. But because it's glossy, and it has a little bit of give to it, it's not as bad as I expected. So I thought maybe you could make something out of cloth and it would look better. But this is a very good cape. But here is the real winner for the Master Grade Exia. The head has incredible detail, probably the likes I've never seen on a Master Grade before. So the first thing you might notice is that this yellow part looks really sharp and it has lines cut into it. So I lined that with black and it looks like some of the early promotional images. You've got the nice gray here, so you don't have to draw that on like I did with the 1/100th. The sticker underneath, there's no clear lens here, but there's just a green one over top, and a sticker for the eyes, and a sticker up here. But what is great is I used to line these on my Exias, so to just give you an idea, there's the high grade. I'd stick a lining marker in and draw that in black or gray. But in this case, they give you more of the purple holographic stickers, or thick plastic, and you put that in, and it just adds a lot of depth to the helmet, and I think it is a really nice touch. So that's the parts here in part 3, and I know that some people really like seeing all the parts and some people don't. So if you want, skip ahead to part 4 and you can check it all out being put together, and we'll see what kind of poses it can pull off. Thanks for watching, everybody. www.gundam.tk